Explain it like I'm a 10-year-old. Why does this stuff work? How do social media apps know what I've been talking about with my friends if they're not recording my voice and listening for magic words all the time? It's starting to creep me out. The other day I was chatting with a friend about a trip to a very specific location. I never Googled it, but less than a minute later I saw an airline ad for that exact place on my feed. It's not even some super popular summer spot that airlines push outs for all the time. Same thing happens with random stuff, sneakers, pants, you name it. So how on earth do they know what I was talking about if they supposedly don't spy on conversations? What algorithms or data sorcery can make predictions that accurate? Do they have like a 70% hit rate on these guesses? Contrary to the conspiracy theories, IG, insert giant social network here, isn't eavesdropping on your conversations, but it is building an insanely detailed profile of you using a few sneaky methods. 1. Search history and browsing behavior. They know exactly what you've Googled recently, plus how you interact with ads inside the app. If you hover over an ad for even 1 second longer than usual, that's a signal. Do it a few times and boom, you're tagged as interested in that category. 2. Data sharing between apps. Even if 2 apps belong to totally different companies, they can exchange small packets of user data. For example, if you've got an airline's official app installed and you normally never open it, but suddenly you check it twice in a week, the system thinks, vacation mode activated. IG can't see your exact search inside that airline app, but it can still guess your intent. 3. Friend behavior. Same profiling applies to your friends. If you all meet up one day and connect to the same Wi-Fi, the social network goes full Sherlock Holmes, cross-checking likes, messages, and shared activity. If you're close enough online, it assumes you might travel together. 4. Confirmation trigger. Final touch, someone in your group opens the social app and looks at a post from a travel blogger or friend showing that exact location. Now, IG is 99% sure you were talking about that place. Once these 4 steps line up, the algorithm fires off hyper-targeted ads to all of you at once. Why do broke folks get told to avoid loans, but rich folks use them all the time? Growing up, I constantly heard stuff like, credit cards will ruin your life. Never borrow money unless you want to end up eating instant noodles till you're 90. So I was drilled to only buy what I could pay for in cash. But then I grew up, saw how wealthy people actually operate, and it was the total opposite. They take huge mortgages, business loans, investment credit lines, and somehow it's considered smart strategy. One time I won a bit of money in a casino, enough to wipe out my credit card balance. I thought, great, I'll pay it off completely. But my finance bro friend said he'd do the opposite. Keep paying the card slowly and invest the cash to make more money. That really made me wonder, why is it brilliant when the rich use debt, but dangerous when regular folks do? Here's a simple breakdown. If I have $100,000 invested in the market making an average 7% per year, and I want to buy a $50,000 car, I'm better off taking a loan if the interest rate is under 7%. That way I leave my $100K invested and let it keep earning while I make small loan payments. If I have 0 investments and I take out a loan, I'm just in debt. No earnings, no offset, just a monthly bill. Debt is a tool when you have money and a burden when you don't. For rich folks, loans basically mean, why spend my own cash when I can spend someone else's and keep my money making more money? Why do so many websites freak out if you're using a VPN? Some sites flat out won't let you in. Others just give you the wrong password error instead of saying turn off VPN. I get why banks want to block suspicious logins, but even random content sites with no personal info do it. So what's the deal? Is there money in blocking VPN users? These days, going online without a VPN feels like running through a paintball field in a bright yellow onesie. You will get hit. I use VPN mostly because I hate being tracked. I also block trackers, third-party cookies, and ads. Weirdly enough, many sites let me in with all the ad tracker blocking still on, but kick me out specifically for the VPN. Here are the main reasons. Geo-restricted content. Media sites have licensing deals that only let them show stuff in certain countries. VPN makes it look like you're somewhere else, which can mess with those deals. Legal headaches. Some sites need to know where you actually are to stay compliant with laws like GDPR in Europe. DDoS protection. VPN servers often have tons of users on one IP. Sites limit access from a single IP to reduce spam or attacks. Spam control. Speaking as someone who runs a website, can't say which one, less than 3% of VPN traffic we got was from legit users. The rest was low-effort spam, copy-paste junk, or shady activity. Blocking VPNs just saves moderation costs. Explain like I'm 10. If I'm on a spaceship going 99 point a whole bunch of 9% the speed of light, and I start walking forward, why don't I go faster than the speed of light? From your perspective inside the ship, you're just walking at your normal, I'm going to get a snack speed. It's like walking down the aisle of a moving train. The train speed doesn't feel like it's stacking on top of yours. But for someone outside watching the train, they do see your walking speed added to the train speed. In everyday life, that's fine. Train goes 60 miles per hour plus your 3-mile-per-hour walk equals 63 miles per hour. Near the speed of light, though, the math changes. You can't just stack speeds the normal way because physics gets cranky. Instead, relativity kicks in. No matter what you do, the total never exceeds light speed. So inside, you're strolling. Outside, you're still under the speed limit of the universe. Why can't we just refuel satellites in space? We already launched them, so why not send a space gas truck to top them off instead of letting them turn into space junk when they run out of fuel? We can, in theory. The problem is that it's wildly expensive and ridiculously complicated. No universal gas cap. Every satellite uses different propellants, hydrazine, xenon, methane, you name it, and different fueling ports. It's like trying to refuel every car on Earth when half of them run on diesel, half on electricity, and some on banana smoothies. Docking is hard. Satellites weren't built with refueling in mind. Most are spinning, tumbling, or in awkward orbits that make it tricky to line up a tanker without risking a crash. Economics. Sending a dedicated refueling mission costs hundreds of millions of dollars. In many cases, it's cheaper to just launch a new satellite. Technology gap. NASA and private companies are working on refuel-friendly designs for future satellites, but most of the current ones are basically disposable. Bottom line, refueling will likely be a big thing in the future, but right now it's like trying to fill up a moving go-kart from a helicopter. Why does bread go stale instead of just drying out? I mean, it's not like bread is wet, so why does it turn into a chewy brick if you leave it out? It's not about losing water, it's about the starch molecules changing shape. When bread is fresh, the starches are all soft and flexible because they absorbed water during baking. Over time, those starch molecules slowly recrystallize, pushing water out and making the bread firm. Here's the weird part. If you heat stale bread, the crystals break apart and the bread gets soft again, but only temporarily. Once it cools, the molecules snap right back into brick mode. That's why toasting stale bread makes it taste freshish for a little while, but you can't truly reverse the staling process. Why does lightning mostly strike the ground instead of just zapping between clouds? Lightning does hit between clouds, a lot. In fact, cloud-to-cloud lightning is super common. We just don't notice it as much because it doesn't make that big dramatic tree got roasted moment. The reason you see more strikes to the ground is that the electrical difference between a storm cloud and the Earth is often much stronger than between two clouds. Earth acts like a giant opposite charge plate, making it the easiest target. Also, tall objects, trees, buildings, dude holding a selfie stick in a thunderstorm, stick up into the air and help connect the path for lightning. So when a bolt's looking for a shortcut, the ground, especially something tall on it, often wins. Why is glass see-through? Most solids aren't, so what makes it special? It comes down to how glass interacts with light on the atomic level. Light is made of photons, each with a certain energy. When light hits most materials, the photons get absorbed because their energy matches the jump electrons can make inside the atoms. That's why you see color. Some wavelengths get absorbed, others bounce back to your eyes. In glass, the electrons can't absorb visible light photons. The energy isn't the right amount for them to jump. So instead of being absorbed, the light just passes through. Glass does absorb ultraviolet and infrared light though, which is why you can get sunburned next to a window but not fried by your toaster's heat beam. Why do movies always put loud pew pew and boom sounds in space scenes when there's no sound in space? Because silence feels boring on screen, and directors want drama, not realism. In reality, space is a vacuum, so there's nothing to carry sound waves. If a spaceship exploded right next to you and somehow you survived, you wouldn't hear it, you'd just see it. Movies add sound effects so your brain can connect to what's happening. Think of it like background music. Not realistic, but it makes the scene feel intense. Some films, like 2001: A Space Odyssey, actually go for full silence during space shots, and it can feel unsettling, which is the point. But most blockbusters would rather have the blah than the awkward quiet. Why is the ocean salty but lakes and rivers aren't? Because rivers are basically salt delivery systems, and the ocean is the final storage locker. Rainwater isn't pure, it picks up carbon dioxide from the air and becomes slightly acidic. When it flows over rocks, it dissolves tiny amounts of minerals, including salts. Rivers carry that salty water into the ocean. Unlike lakes, the ocean doesn't have an overflow drain. Water leaves mostly by evaporation, but salt stays behind. Over millions of years, that leftover salt has built up to the taste-like French fries level we have today. Why do cats' eyes glow in the dark? It's thanks to a special reflective layer in their eyes called the tapetum lucidum. When light enters a cat's eye, it passes through the retina, where cells detect it, and then hits this reflective layer. The tapetum bounces the light back through the retina, giving those light-sensitive cells a second chance to catch it. This boosts cats' night vision, making them excellent late-night zoomy machines. The glow you see is just that reflected light coming back at you, kind of like a bike reflector. Different animals have different glow colors. Cats often shine green or yellow, while dogs might shine blue. Why do bananas turn brown instead of just staying yellow? Bananas ripen because of a plant hormone called ethylene. It triggers enzymes that break down starches into sugars, making the banana sweeter. As the banana gets riper, those same enzymes also start breaking down the cell walls in pigments. The yellow pigment molecules degrade, and brown spots form from a process called enzymatic browning, similar to what happens when you slice an apple and leave it out. The brown areas are basically the banana's tissues oxidizing. Harmless, but they taste different because the sugars keep concentrating. So, yellow means sweet, brown means dessert level, and black means banana bread time. Why is ice slippery? It's because ice has a super thin layer of liquid water on its surface, even when the temperature's below freezing. For a long time, people thought this happened because pressure from your foot or skate blade melted the ice. That's partly true, but it can't explain all the slipperiness. The main reason is that the surface molecules of ice can't lock into the solid crystal structure as tightly as the ones inside. They wiggle around more, creating a microscopic film of water that acts like a natural lubricant. That's why ice feels slick, even if you're just standing still. No need for fancy figure skates. Why doesn't the moon just fall down to Earth? It is falling, it's just missing. The moon is constantly being pulled toward Earth by gravity, but it's also moving sideways at just the right speed. So instead of crashing, it keeps falling around the Earth in a loop. Think of it like swinging a ball on a string. Gravity is the string, and the moon's sideways motion keeps it from dropping straight in. If the moon slowed down, it would spiral toward us. If it sped up, it could escape entirely and drift off into space. Right now, it's in a perfect cosmic balance, falling forever without ever landing. Why do we always see the same side of the moon? Because the moon is tidally locked to Earth. A long time ago, the moon spun faster, but Earth's gravity created tiny bulges in it. Those bulges acted like bricks, slowly sinking the moon's rotation speed with the time it takes to orbit Earth. Now it spins once per orbit, meaning the same side is always facing us, while the far side, often called the dark side, stays hidden. It's not actually dark, it gets just as much sunlight as the side we see, we just never face it. So if you lived on the moon, Earth would always be in the same spot in your sky, never rising or setting. Why is the sky blue? It's because sunlight gets scattered by the air, and blue light scatters the most. Sunlight looks white, but it's actually made up of all colors. When it hits molecules in our atmosphere, the shorter wavelengths, blue and violet, get scattered in all directions more than the longer wavelengths, like red. We see the sky as blue instead of violet because our eyes are more sensitive to blue, and because some of that violet light is absorbed by the upper atmosphere. At sunrise and sunset, sunlight passes through more atmosphere, scattering away most of the blue and leaving more reds and oranges, hence those Instagram-worthy skies. Why do humans have different blood types? Blood types are basically about what flags are in your red blood cells. These flags, called antigens, tell your immune system whether a cell is yours or an invader. Different people have different antigen patterns. That's where type AB, and O come from. If you get blood with the wrong flags, your immune system will treat it like a villain and attack it, which can be dangerous. Scientists think blood type diversity evolved as a survival tactic. Certain blood types are less vulnerable to specific diseases. For example, type O offers some resistance to severe malaria. So having a mix of blood types in the population makes it harder for a single disease to wipe everyone out.